Welcome back. We're tackling a topic that often pits moms against each other, but our hope is to bring women together. Studio 5 contributor Dr. Julie Hanks says the mommy wars are outdated and it's time to end them. How do you define mommy wars, first of all?
Well, that term started in the mid-'80s. There was a book called Mommy Wars.
Okay.
And so how I'm talking about it today is the kind of stay-at-home versus working mom. We tend to frame motherhood in those two categories. It's expanded beyond that now to, like, do you breastfeed or bottle feed? But we're talking about stay-at-home working mom.
So if we're defining it today, it's that working versus the stay-at-home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so but why doesn't that comparison really make sense anymore?
Because it doesn't reflect the variety and the creativity of people's real lives. Very few people do I know that are stay-at-home and have no other interests outside of the home, and very few women I know work 40 to 60 hours a week as a corporate attorney. Like, we have these images that don't represent reality. I have a sister-in-law she would identify herself as a stay-at-home mom. And she went to hair school and she cuts hair. She has a studio in her basement where she does that. So is she a stay-at-home mom? Is she a working mom? Most people are somewhere in between. And so those categories do not apply to most women anyway, but we still hold on to them.
Right.
They, as you said in the intro, they pit women against each other. I'm on this side, you're on this side. And then those categories promote this kind of ranking, like who's better, who's making a better choice for society. And in reality, everybody's just trying to do their best.
Absolutely. And these roles are constantly being redefined. I mean, are you seeing this in your practice as well?
Yeah, I think people want a variety in their lives and they don't want one aspect to define them. And I think it's really important we talk about motherhood often as a role, like, okay, a role is prescriptive behavior that places a person in society. I think we need to talk about motherhood as a relationship, because that is the commonality. If I ask a client, how do you feel about your kids? It doesn't matter whether they have a job or work, full-time, part-time, stay-at-home, whatever. They all say how much they love their kids or how much pain their child is causing them
Right.
sometimes. But that's the commonality. Motherhood is relationship. It's not based on exactly what you do each day. Right. We have that love for our kids.
And so when we're talking about that this can pit women against each other, how can we make it so that moms can come together more and this be like a unifying role, something like that?
Well, I think it's really important to remember that we don't have to buy into those categories. So I say, growing up, I was presented with, oh, wow, wait a second. These are the only two options? And I'm kind of stubborn, and I thought, that's not going to work for me. And so I grew up my mantra was, I refuse to choose. Those are unacceptable and uncreative options for me. And so my goal is, like, how do I weave together a life that feels good for me and works for my family? And we don't have to choose one or the other. And I think that really brings women together.
You say over-glorifying moms hurts women. How so?
I read a really interesting article in the Washington Post. It was called Mommy the Martyr, How the Over-Glorification of Mommies Hurts Us All. And her point was not that mothers aren't important, because, I mean, everyone would say mothers matter, right? But what her point was is that focusing on one aspect of a woman's life minimizes these other areas. And we forget that women are multidimensional. And when we over-glorify mothers, I've had several clients come into my office as single women or women without children, and because motherhood is so glorified, they feel like they're not worthy. And I have several clients who've come in and expressed that. Like, well, I'm less than because I'm not a mom, and mom's this great thing,
right.
Which it is. But again, it's one aspect of who a woman is and one aspect of the relationships.
Now, there might be some women out there that challenge that. I mean, what would you say to those women who disagree with that last point?
Disagree with which point?
That we are over-glorifying motherhood.
Not everybody does, but I think there are comments that generally do, like, oh, you know, I don't know how you do it. It's the hardest job in the world. I don't know if that's true. I haven't tried every job in the world. And I think it's not that it's not important, it's that pedestalizing it above anything else minimizes the other parts of who women are. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not diminishing the importance. I mean, we need unpaid work and paid work from women.
Right.
And men.
Yes, exactly.
And so we don't need to rank one over the other. And that's, I think, where we get stuck in the mommy wars. I remember a friend who was a stay-at-home mom and just was very defensive about it and felt like she had to justify that. And you know, she wasn't contributing to society. And she's totally contributing to society. And then I've heard, especially online, there's a lot of Facebook groups that I'm involved in where they're working in this just chronic guilt. Oh, I'm not doing the Pinterest birthday parties, and I missed a soccer game. And we don't need to do that to ourselves.
Do you think that it's time to rethink the definition or redefine the definition of what makes a good mother?
I do. I mean, when you think about good mom, what comes to your mind? Like, when you think good
loving,
mom,
you know, cares about her children and tries her hardest.
Right,
and that's kind of what we're all just trying to do, right? Try our best.
But somehow the other behavioral kinds of things, like this idealized image of never misses a game. I know people are like, I've never missed a soccer game in my child's life. I'm like, well, my goal is more often than not. I don't think they're going to die if I don't go to every single game, but I want them to know I'm supportive.
Don't set a standard of perfection because that's not realistic for anyone.
And I was I posted a blog called Healing Aspirational Shame, and there was a commenter on it, and she said, well, how do you, what does a good mom look like who is kind of trying to balance motherhood and who's not choosing between these two rigid things? And I thought about it, and I realized, you know, the older I get, the less I judge my performance on what I do. You know, is the house clean? Did I volunteer? You know, how many times did I volunteer at school? But it's more about the connection, the relationship. Do I feel emotionally connected to my child? And do they feel connected to me? That's the only, how am I doing? That's how I gauge it.
So in that instance, it's almost like it's quality versus quantity. Maybe it's not so much the time that you're with them, but what you make of the time you do have.
And it's not the time matter. And it's not even about time or not time. It's about this invisible emotional connection between human beings, right? My grandmother passed away when my mom was in middle adulthood, and she's still her mother. She's not spending any time with her mother for the last 20 years. She still has a mother, right? It's the relationship, it's that connection and that bond that is not about the specific behavior you're doing every day.
Thank you so much. Some great points here. And you offer some counseling services for people trying to find that work-life balance. Where can people find more information about that?
So drjuliehanks.com/coaching. It's actually coaching, just short-term kind of problem solving and help women figure this stuff out.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ashley.
We'll be right back.